What's up, guys? This is my World Cup 2026 prediction video. I'm going to be predicting the entire group stage and then the knockout stage. This is the only prediction video I'm going to be making for the World Cup. I'm really not bothered to make another one right after the international break in June because I'm strongly convinced that I'm going to get these predictions right anyway. So, yeah, let's not waste any more time and let's get straight to it. Okay, so this is Group A, and we've got Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia. Now, we have the exact same opening match for this year's World Cup as the 2010 edition. It was South Africa hosting Mexico, and 16 years later, it's happened again, but this time in North America. So you really have to understand how rare it is for this to happen. Now, I think Mexico is a really exciting team this year. They recently won the CONCACAF Gold Cup last year, defeating the United States in the final. And there are rumors that Guillermo Ochoa is going to feature in his last ever World Cup because some of the other goalkeepers are injured. If he does, I'm sure he will lock in for his country. This man always shows up when international duty is on the line. And otherwise, they also have Gilberto Mora, a really interesting youngster, had his moments at the Gold Cup. And so I think it's about time that Mexico tops this group. Now, second place is between South Africa and Czechia for me. And I am pretty convinced about Czechia's performance, especially in the World Cup playoffs. They beat the Republic of Ireland and Denmark on penalties to make their way to the World Cup. But I think I'm going to give the edge to the team that directly qualified for the World Cup here, which is going to be South Africa. I remember they topped their group over Nigeria, which sent the Super Eagles into the playoff round where they got knocked out in the final. And I also remember they had one overturned match as well. They used a suspended player, and then that match was turned into a 3-0 defeat, but they still topped the group, so that's really impressive. So I think I'm going to put South Africa in second place. And now, honestly, I don't think South Korea has what it takes to make an impressive run in this year's World Cup. Last time they beat Portugal on the final match day to escape the group stages and make it to the knockouts. But I'm not convinced about this current team. They lost 4-0 to the Ivory Coast in a friendly match. I know it's just a friendly, and I'm pretty sure Son Heung-min didn't even feature in that game. I could be wrong, but I feel like this team is not prepared for the World Cup at all. So I'm going to give it to Czechia, and that will complete Group A. Now, on to Group B. We've got Canada, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland. Now, this spot here where Bosnia is sitting was preserved for Italy. In my mind, I've always had Italy to be in this World Cup spot because I thought they were going to win that playoff path and qualify for the real tournament, but they did not. And now we have Bosnia and Herzegovina in here. And yeah, so because Italy didn't qualify, I think this group will easily go to Switzerland. They are easily the most well-rounded team in this group. Made it really far in the last two Euros. Last time they knocked out reigning champions Italy and then took England to a penalty shootout. They did the same in 2020 as well, except it was Spain that they forced into penalties in the quarterfinals. So I think Switzerland will top this group with relative ease. And I'm going to give the edge to Canada here, obviously because they're a host nation, but they do have a pretty good squad as well. I mean, Jonathan David and Alfonso Davies. This team has its own stars for sure. And then that leaves us with Bosnia and Qatar. Now, there's a lot of controversy with Qatar over the past few years because apparently, whenever they play at home, some referee decisions go their way. Most notably in the Asian Cup final, when they earned 3 penalties against Jordan, and Akram Afif converted all three, and they beat Jordan in the final. And later that year, in World Cup qualifying, there was a match with India where the ball went past the line in the Qatari goal, but the goal didn't count. So I'm not saying that there are corrupt referees when Qatar play at home. Okay, I don't necessarily believe in these theories, but that is just something worth bringing up because outside of home, Qatar is just not that great. They lost to the UAE 5-0. That was pretty bad in the yeah. So I'm gonna give this spot to Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think Edin Dzeko is really gonna help his team, really gonna carry his team throughout this tournament. Okay, so that takes us to Group C. We've got Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Very interesting one here. Brazil, obviously, they have been a shadow of the former selves. They're not the same as the 2002 version that dominated the world anymore. And there are a lot of superstars, can't deny that. We've got Theos Cunha, Vinicius Junior, Rafinha, like those names alone in the attack. Can't forget Esteval and Endrick either. But these players perform much better for their clubs than country. The play styles at club and country are simply so different that the players don't necessarily get along. And that's part of the reason why Brazil has been underperforming in recent years. And I think that is genuinely quite concerning because look at Morocco right here. 3 years ago, in the March international window, Morocco defeated Brazil in a friendly match. And now that they're going to face each other again in a major tournament, it's going to be a real threat. Morocco will be a real threat for Brazil. But when it comes to international tournaments, I think Brazil is going to lock in for this. It's going to lock in because honestly, I feel like you can't really go wrong with Carlo Ancelotti. He's always going to lock in. He's going to work extra hard. He's going to bring out that masterclass that he used to have at Real Madrid when it comes to the big stages. So I think Brazil will still top this group. And still going to give credit to Morocco, though. I think they'll be in second. And as proud as I am to see Haiti qualify for the World Cup for the first time in 52 years, I think they'll be last in this group. Because if they want to make it far, they will need to consistently qualify for the World Cup. So they have a generation of players who have experience at the big stage and can help their team pull through. So I'm gonna give third place to Scotland here. Scotland, rather really underrated team. We've got Scott McTominay. I'm pretty sure he was a Ballon d'Or nominee last year. So I'm gonna put Scotland there. So moving on to Group D, we've got the United States of America, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. Now, this is probably the worst time for the USA to be at a World Cup because their form has been horrendous. They conceded 5 goals from Belgium and another 2 from Portugal. And both of those matches ended in defeats. So it's definitely not looking too good for the Americans. Hang on, I'm just gonna get a drink. Otherwise, I think this is a really well-rounded group because I think there is really even squad depth among these teams. Like no team is significantly better than the other, and definitely can't rule out Australia either. They've been on a rise of their own recently. Last time around, they lost to France in the opening match, but then they beat Tunisia and Denmark to make it to the round of 16, and they almost took Argentina in extra time. And something is really interesting about Turkey actually, because there's a common saying that Turkey defies expectations in both good and bad ways. Whenever you expect them to win a match, they lose. and vice versa. But I think this group is too predictable for that kind of stuff to happen. And I am convinced in that Turkey can actually top this group. I think that's a really big deal for this team. If you have a lot of stars like Gule, Yildiz, Çalhanoğlu, I think they will top this group. And I think Paraguay will be in second. This is a really interesting team. They beat Argentina in World Cup qualifying, and I think second place belongs to them. And now it's between the English-speaking countries. Let's be honest here, Australia, even on American soil, is going to beat the United States. I just can't see Christian Pulisic building his team out this time around. Okay, that's four groups down. We got Group E now: Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Now, twice in a row already, Germany have not made it out of the group stage. And I think there's no better time to finally end that this year. Now, by no means do I think all three of the other teams in this group are bad, okay? Especially Ivory Coast and Ecuador. They have really good players at certain positions, and they are good in their own ways. That's what I'm trying to say. And you can't rule out Curacao either. They've been naturalizing a lot of Dutch-born players playing in Europe, and that's how they managed to strengthen their squads in such a short period of time. And that's what got them to the World Cup. But I think Germany, with this current generation of players, they have so many stars. I think they're going to take first place. I just can't see any of these teams taking Germany's spot unless they can prove me wrong. Now, second place is really tough. You have to decide between Ecuador and Ivory Coast. Now, who do I think is going to go through? Uh, Honestly, it's really hard to tell. Ecuador, they have really good defense. I know they have Estupinan, and I think Mayulu is Ecuadorian as well. I remember they said he last year became the first Ecuadorian to win the Champions League. But Ivory Coast also have good names for them, good names themselves. Like Amad Diallo, I remember Sebastian Haller as well. He scored in the AFCON final after beating cancer. Yeah, but I'm gonna slightly give the edge to Ecuador. Um, I think Moises Caicedo is gonna carry them. I just mentioned him because I didn't haven't already mentioned him when I was just talking about the star players. Yeah. Who knows if Enner Valencia shows up? I'm sure he will bang a couple goals. I remember he scored the first two goals in last time in the last tournament against Qatar in the opening match. And as much as I'm impressed with Curacao for qualifying for the World Cup as debutants, I think this is too hard for them. I'm gonna put Ivory Coast in here. Curacao takes fourth place. All right, Group F: the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. We've got. This is really interesting group. Now, the Netherlands, and Japan. This is probably the hardest choice that I'll have to make in this video because Japan have been on an incredible run of form. They've been defeating a lot of top nations across the world, like Germany, Brazil, England, and even Spain as well. And so I feel like the Netherlands are not safe. Normally, I would go with the Netherlands to top this group, but this is going to be a dark horse pick for this tournament, okay? This one will be by far the most controversial. I'm totally fine with that. I think Japan's going to top this group. I think it's about time that Asia finally has like a serious dark horse in the World Cup. But I'm still going to give second place to the Netherlands. And you also can't rule out Sweden either. They got Victor Gyökeres, who scored 4 goals in the last 2 matches. And both matches were really important as well because they were, in fact, Sweden's World Cup qualification playoff matches against Ukraine and Poland, respectively. and he scored 4 goals across those matches. I think he's going to shine again for Sweden this time. So I think Sweden would take third place, and unfortunately, that puts Tunisia at rock bottom. All right, Group G, we got Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Now, due to political reasons, Iran have apparently withdrawn from the World Cup, but for some reason their name is still here. And honestly, even I am not sure if they're withdrawn from the World Cup or not. But until that is actually confirmed, I guess I'm just gonna keep predicting as if nothing has went wrong yet. So Belgium is far, definitely far gone from its prime back in 2018. Kevin De Bruyne is going to his last World Cup, but in exchange, Belgium has a really exciting generation of young players. Got Sandy Lamens, he's been absolutely balling for Man United, and also Jeremy Doku, he's been pretty good as well. And overall, these players have been contributing to Belgium's rather decent run of form over the past year or so. So I think Belgium will top this group, and I think the real choice here is between Egypt and Iran. Um, Honestly, I think Egypt, with the star power from Mohamed Salah and Omar Mamouche, they're gonna slightly edge past Iran. Um, I know Iran made the semifinals of the Asian Cup, but otherwise, I feel like this team isn't really supposed to be, on the same class as Japan, this is just what I'm thinking. I feel like Iran isn't quite yet the team that is meant to take down giant footballing nations. Especially considering that Salah is going to his last World Cup with Egypt, I think he's going to be dead serious with it. I know his form at Liverpool has been horrendous to say the least, but I'm sure he's going to lock in for his country. So Egypt second, and I just can't see New Zealand taking third place here. It's going to go to Iran. Um, I know they have Chris Wood as well. Have Chris Wood. He's I'm pretty sure he just returned to Nottingham Forest after like an injury, but I don't think that will be enough for New Zealand. So the Kiwis will take fourth place. All right, Group H. We have Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. Another debutant of the World Cup that you are seeing right here, Cape Verde. Now, two really interesting teams in this group are Spain and Uruguay. And I think it's pretty easy here. Spain will definitely win Group H. There is absolutely no way any of these teams can possibly beat Spain. Maybe one of them will get a draw, but Spain's definitely topping this group. And otherwise, I think Uruguay is still relatively safe in second place. And now you have to choose between Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia. Now, here is my hot take number two. I think Cape Verde is going to overcome Saudi Arabia. Now, the Falcons, I know they are a big team in Asia, but they're kind of in the same boat as Iran. Like I can't yet see them as that world-class team taking down football giants. I know I'm a hypocrite for saying this because ironically, Saudi Arabia already beat Argentina in last year's World Cup, and that team went on to win the whole tournament. But to truly convince me that you are someone who can take down world-class nations, you have to do it consistently. And I feel like Saudi Arabia isn't quite at that level yet. Otherwise, Cape Verde has been on an incredible rise. Their population is really small. I think about like 600,000 people. Could be wrong about that. But to put it short, this is going to be my hot take. Cape Verde to beat Saudi Arabia. All right, time for another drink. Here is the group of death. We have France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. The Lions of Mesopotamia have booked their absolute final ticket to the FIFA World Cup. Matter of fact, this team you're seeing right here was the last to qualify for the whole tournament. It was an absolutely hectic journey considering what's going on in the Middle East. So it's really impressive that they managed to make it that far. But I don't think Iraq will stand a chance in this group. Now, I think I'm sure people are really interested in France facing Norway because we're really likely to get Mbappe against Haaland. But I believe France will top this group because they absolutely beat Norway in terms of squad depth. I know Norway is extremely clinical in terms of offensive power because they have early Haaland, but if you look at France's squad, they have a really stacked attack. Their attack alone is incredibly stacked. Who you got? Mbappe, Cherki, Dembele, Doué, Barcola, Olise. They can make like three separate attacks with just those names. So France would be in first. But I'm still going to give Norway the benefit of the doubt, put them in second place. And you still can't leave out the African champions, Senegal. Now, Sadio Mane will be going into his last ever international tournament with Senegal. So I'm sure he's going to put his heart into it. And I think Senegal will take third place. And yeah, Iraq, they'll be rock bottom. They'll be battered in this group. I can't see them making it out alive here. So in Group J, we have the reigning champions Argentina alongside Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. I think this group is another really easy one. Argentina is gonna take the first place. They have some incredible superstars currently. You can talk for ages about Lionel Messi. Everyone's gonna talk about him. It's his last World Cup, but you can't forget about the other names like Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, Emi Martinez in goal as well. I'm sure Molina would do great, and even Christian Romero. I know this guy is not having a good time at Tottenham, who are in a relegation battle, and he just got injured. Actually, there is a chance he won't be at the World Cup. But aside from that, Argentina have some really good names, and they're definitely going to top this group. And so that leaves us with the other three teams. And let's talk a bit about Algeria, okay? They made the AFCON quarterfinals, but last time around they could not qualify for the World Cup after losing to Cameroon. Yes, in the final round. And in the two AFCONs before that, they also couldn't make it past the group stage. They went 6 wins without winning in AFCON. That was across two different tournaments. So I know that was kind of a long time ago, but it definitely still raises some concerns about Algeria's form. And I think the more consistent team here is easily Austria. Under Ralf Rangnick, this team has been on fire. They topped their group in World Cup qualifying, and I'm just going to give it straight to them, the second place spot. And here comes hot take number 3. I think Jordan, despite only featuring in the World Cup for the first time, will overcome Algeria. I'm going to say it right now. Jordan has been the underdog of Asian football over the past 2 years, ever since they made that final in the Asian Cup. They also qualified directly for the World Cup, trailing just behind South Korea, but that was already enough for them to qualify. And I think they will top Algeria. That is my bold prediction for this group. And of course, hot take number 3. So you can find me in the comments if you want. Okay, Group K. Another highly anticipated team here, Portugal, alongside DR Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo will be going to his last World Cup. Yes, everybody's been saying that. And honestly, I believe Portugal has a really strong squad. Probably easily top 3 in this tournament in terms of squad quality and depth. So let's just skip the first phase. So then And then you still have all these teams. And I think the one team that Portugal has to watch out for is Colombia. Luis Diaz has been one of the most prolific wingers in Europe this season. He's been absolutely balling for Bayern Munich. He's been scoring so many goals, and I think he will play a crucial role in Colombia's second place finish. You can't leave out James Rodriguez either. Looks like this man is finally rediscovering his version from 2014. And I'm sure he's gonna bring that energy to this World Cup again. And Uzbekistan is the last debutant of this tournament. Um, as much as I want them to go far, I feel like they lack World Cup experience. And on the other hand, DR Congo it is definitely pretty strong as a team. Um, I heard that Wan-Bissaka has just switched nationalities, I mean, from England to DR Congo, and I'm sure he's going to help them make a good run in this World Cup. So I'm going to put DR Congo above Uzbekistan. And to end of the group stage, you have England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Now, England is the big team here, and they always say every year that the football is going to come home. I don't want to spoil my predictions for the knockout stage, so I'm just going to leave that for now. So we put that aside for now, and actually talk about England. Now, I know they lost to Japan in a friendly in Wembley. I know that was embarrassing. You do have to consider the fact that they did not have Harry Kane in that squad. Yeah, I don't think he was even called up for the March international window. But that in exchange, that means he will be really well rested for this World Cup. And England definitely has the best squad out of these three. Croatia or Ghana could cause some trouble for the Three Lions, but otherwise they're going to top this group. Speaking of Croatia, Luka Modric and Ivan Perisic will be going into the last World Cup in this summer. And Croatia otherwise also has some really interesting names. Um, the most notable of which is Luka Vuskovic. Absolutely balling for Hamburg in the Bundesliga despite being centre back. His goal scoring ability is surprisingly prolific. And so that's enough to convince me to put them in second place. And then it's between Ghana and Panama. And to be honest, I'm going to give the third place to Ghana. I definitely still remember England thrashing Panama 6-1 in 2018. And no disrespect intended to Panama. I feel like something along that line is going to happen again. So I'm going to give third place to the Black Stars. Okay, let me just show you the all the groups real quick. Oh my god, it's taken me here already. Group stage predictions. Yep. Let's close it again. Yep. All right. All right. So let's take a quick look for all the groups. If you have any disagreements, leave them down in the comments. Okay. But I'm sure I'm gonna get all of these predictions correct when the tournament comes around. I'm that confident in myself. All right. Now we have to pick out of 12 teams that finished third as third place in the group stage, 8 to go to the round of 32. And you definitely can't tell who will go through based on the team alone. You have to consider the group that they were put into. So, for example, Czechia, you may not see them as a super strong team, but their group is really balanced. And I think that will give them a good chance to earn a good number of points and also build a decent goal difference to help them get into this top 8. So I'm definitely going to choose them. For similar reasons, I'm also going to take Australia. And then I think the Ivory Coast will also go through. And if Sweden is well played and Gyökeres carries Sweden, so if Gyökeres carries Sweden well enough, I'm sure he's going to help them earn a spot in the knockouts as well. And I definitely can't leave out Senegal either. I'm not too sure about that though. That group is really tough. They might concede a lot of goals from France and Norway. So let's just look at this bottom section for now. Um, oh, you know what? I'm gonna take Iran as well. That group that they got into is somewhat balanced. I think that's gonna help them make it to the knockouts. Okay, we have 5. We can only pick 3 more. This is when it gets tough. Honestly, I do have faith in Senegal actually. So I'm gonna pick them, and then I can only pick 2 more. This is where it gets tough. Ooh, I think Scotland has what it takes to go through. And which one of these will I take? Ooh, I think I'm gonna go for. Well, I'm torn between DR Congo and Jordan. It's always tough when you're down to the last 2 options. There's only 1 option left. So let me just take DR Congo. So pretty much all of these teams at the top. This is definitely quite risky. You know, just picking the teams at the top alone is a little risky. But again, I'm confident in myself, and I guess these teams will just have to do better next time. All right, let's go into the knockout stage. Yep, pick knockouts. Okay, so let's just start right from the top. Germany against Australia. This match already happened in 2010 with a 4-0 victory for Germany. I'm sure that is a big scar for DMAC, and in contrary, a good thing for Thiago. And I think Germany is going to beat Australia. And then you have France against Sweden. Ooh, this is kind of the same argument as choosing between France and Norway. Like Sweden, Norway has. Oh God, what am I saying? Like Norway, Sweden has a major attacking star in Gyökeres. But do they beat France in terms of squad depth? Probably not. So I know Graham Potter implemented a really different strategy for Gyökeres as a striker, and that's how he scores so many goals against Ukraine and Poland. But I think France is just too good, so they will beat Sweden. Then you have South Africa against Canada. Who? This is a battle of the between the underdogs, but I think South Africa would just edge past Canada. Who knows? Maybe this match will go to extra time or even penalties. But I think South Africa got this. In Japan against Morocco, another battle between the underdogs. Now, I know Morocco has just made the AFCON final, and Japan has also been beating a lot of world-class teams from across the world. So honestly, this is really the toss of a coin. But I'm gonna slightly give the edge to Japan here. And then you have Colombia against Croatia. This already happened in the March international window, and I'm pretty sure it was a win for Colombia. But will they do that again though? No. I think no, I think I'm gonna go slightly for Colombia. I think Luis Diaz is really gonna help them overcome Croatia. And then you have Spain against Austria. I think this one's pretty easy to predict. Spain's definitely gonna beat Austria. Turkey against the Ivory Coast. Now, the Turkey paradox comes into play once again. But I believe Turkey has what it takes to win this match. Okay, Belgium against Czechia. I feel like the gap is too big here. Belgium's going to take it. Then, this is probably the hardest match to predict. Brazil against the Netherlands. Now, because I put the Netherlands in second of Group F, that has created this absolute monstrosity here. If this actually happened, I'm sure it will be a heavyweight battle. And I've already talked about how Brazil has not been that consistent over the recent years. But that argument about locking in during major tournaments remains. I think when it matters most, Ancelotti and Brazil is really going to deliver, and that's why I think Brazil will win. But it's going to be close. I totally expected I totally expected to go past 90 minutes. Now, Ecuador against Norway. Ooh, we could set up a South American derby here. There's no denying that Ecuador is really well rounded. They're going to slightly give the edge to Norway. Could be wrong about this, but I've already said this. I'm always right with my predictions. Then you have Mexico against Scotland. Ooh, will Scott McTominay help Scotland overcome the hosts? And you also have to consider El Quinto Partido as well. It's the idea that in World Cups, whenever Mexico plays the fourth game, they always lose. And in past editions, that has always been the round of 16. And technically, while this is only the fourth game for Mexico, it is slightly earlier than the round of 16. But I think the home crowd will give Mexico the advantage. So they will slightly edge past Scotland. England against DR Congo. Ooh, this is going to be an absolute battle for Wan-Bissaka to remember. But I'm going to give it to England. Now, we actually have a South American derby here. Argentina to take on Uruguay. I'm sure a lot of you got this in your predictions, but let's be honest here. Argentina's going to bash Uruguay, and Uruguay will get knocked out early. Then you have Paraguay against Egypt. Same, just like Brazil and Ecuador. I could set up another South American derby here, but I'm going to give the edge to Egypt. Again, the two stars, Salah and Mamouche, are are really going to help the Pharaohs, and I think they'll just win this one. Then you have Switzerland against Iran. Ooh, uh, yeah, I'll have to take Switzerland for this one. I can't see Iran going through. And then you also have Portugal against Senegal. Ooh, rather interesting match here. Will be interesting to see Sadio Mane face Ronaldo again, but I'm gonna give it to Portugal. That takes us to the round of 16, and we start off with a European derby here. France against Germany. Now, last year France already beat Germany in the Nations League match for third place. And to be honest, I feel like something similar to that is going to happen again. I can't see Germany overcoming France here. So I'm going to give it to Le Blues. And then South Africa against Japan. Ooh, I think Japan will make history and go to the quarterfinals for the first time ever. They're going to beat South Africa. And then Colombia against Espanyol. Ooh, 2 years ago, right ahead of the Euros, Colombia beat Spain in a friendly match. But this time around, I think it's going to be really different, will it? Because Spain, well, they've improved. I'm sure they've improved a lot ever since. Their stars, they there's no questioning their stars. They always put up amazing performances. So Spain's going to go to the quarters. Then Turkey against Belgium. Ooh, potential upset here from the Turkish, but I'm just gonna slightly give it to Belgium to advance. I think Belgium's generation is really exciting, and they have what it takes to overcome Turkey. Then you have Brazil against Norway. Now, Norway is currently the only national team still unbeaten against Brazil, but I have a feeling that this will have to come to an end. Brazil, I've already said this twice, they lock in during major tournaments, especially with Ancelotti at the helm. So I think they will overcome Norway. Then you got Mexico against England. Ooh, very interesting here. Will be wild to see England beat Mexico in their own ground because that's what I think will happen. Then you have Argentina against Egypt, Messi versus Salah. Very interesting, but I'm gonna give it to Argentina. And then Switzerland against Portugal. Who can ever forget what Portugal did to Switzerland in the last World Cup? 6-1. That was without Ronaldo for most of the match. Yeah, they're gonna do something like that again. And I'm sure you all are looking at this match. I'm gonna come back to it in a bit. But we have the quarterfinals now. France against Japan. I've said this before. Japan has been overthrowing a lot of big national teams like Brazil, Spain, Germany, England. But I feel like France is too big of a stretch. So the Blues will go to the semis. By the way, I wonder who's going to wear the blue jersey in this match. In case it happens, is Japan finally going to wear an away jersey? Because I've never seen them do that before. And joining France in the semifinals is Spain for sure. They are going to overcome Belgium. Then you have Brazil versus England. Very interesting here. I'm going to give it to England. Brazil is not in the best form, and I think the quarterfinals is the furthest they can go. And oops, I just right clicked. The match we've all been waiting for: Argentina against Portugal. The whole world is going to split into two sides when this match comes. Um, I know people want Messi to win a second World Cup in a row. They want the same to happen to Ronaldo as well. But the thing with me personally is that I don't really believe in back-to-back titles. Like the World Cup is designed to prevent you from winning it constantly. It happens once every 4 years, so your players will get old, the teams will figure out your strategy. So I'm gonna slightly give it to Portugal. Wouldn't be surprised to see it go to a penalty shootout. That would be an absolute hell to watch. And let's go all the way back up for the semifinals. And for the third time in a row, we get France against Spain in a major tournament. In the semifinals, of course. Um, this already happened 2 years ago at the Euros. Spain beat France 2-1. And last year, they also met in the Nations League semifinals. That one was really interesting. Spain went 4-0 up. France put one back. Spain scored a fifth. And then France scored 3 goals to make it 5-4. But there was not enough time. And I feel like something similar is going to happen again. Spain is going to overcome France in the thriller. And on the other side, you have another two European teams in England against Portugal. Let's be honest here. Portugal beats England in terms of squad depth, and that will translate into the match result. So I'm going to protect Portugal, and for some reason I can't find the match for third place here. There's not a prediction spot for that. But now we have the final between Spain and Portugal. Really highly anticipated match. Already happened last year in the Nations League final. Portugal overcame Spain. Now, of course, I want Ronaldo to win. I'm sure everyone will want Ronaldo to win by the time of this match. But objectively, I'm going to slightly give the edge to Spain. And that is going to be my World Cup 2026 prediction. If you have any disagreements, I'm sure a lot of you do leave them in the comments. Just don't be too harsh about them. Don't throw any insults at me for just because my predictions are from yours. But yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna get all these predictions correct when the tournament comes around. But yeah, otherwise, thanks a lot for watching. I know this video is really long. I probably won't edit it too much because it's so long. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.